Hey guys, so it's Monday, November 4th today, and I wanted to talk a bit about identity, and just being trans in general, because I realized a little while ago that it's pretty much been a year since I came out to myself, and I thought that that was worth acknowledging. When I first found out about what being trans was, I was having a lot of trouble with my identity, and I had a hard time figuring out if it was the way I actually identified or if it was just a fleeting fascination with this group of people that I had found. And I've been through a lot of changes in the past year, some good changes and some not so much, but all of them, I'm aware, have led to my acceptance of my identity. And it's crazy to think that that's only taken a year because, a year does seem like a long stretch of time, but if you consider the implications of figuring out who you are compared to who you thought you were for 20 plus years, I mean, that's a big deal. And a year seems kind of trivial when you think about it that way. I'm still going through a lot of dysphoria, and I still have concerns about surgery and concerns about, becoming the man that I see myself as. But in terms of identity, to have that clearness, to have that, to be able to state an identity with conviction, that's given me some type of peace, I guess you could say. It's kind of had a calming effect because I've never been able to identify fully with something before, and it's really a big step for me, I've realized, to be able to say that I'm transgender and actually feel that way. When I was younger, I identified as straight because that's all I knew. And when I figured out I liked women, I identified as gay for a while, but that never really felt right. And, regardless of whether we're talking about gender or sexuality or, anything, I've never had an identity that I actually felt safe with. And being able to, like I said before, state that I'm trans with conviction is a huge step for me, I think. Being in transition is now more of a physical problem than a mental one, and while the physical parts are, in a sense, the hardest parts to deal with, they're also the parts that can be helped by surgery and by testosterone and by, all these things, these steps that we go through. So to be kind of at peace with this identity part is a pretty big deal for me. I've been having consistent therapy since I came out to myself a year ago, and I've, in the past, I'd say month, maybe even more, the primary focus of my therapy sessions has been the extreme anxiety that I've been having, and that's a whole separate piece, and it's very scary, and it's been very difficult for me to deal with, but it just dawned on me that for the first time in a year, the focus of therapy isn't on anything related to being trans. And that's big, like that after a year. So, yeah, I guess I'm, aside from like dysphoria and all of that baggage, I'm just finally starting to be okay with who I am, and that's cool to admit or to realize. So I just thought I'd put that out there because I feel like a lot of trans guys and trans women are very much focused on the outside, and it's really important to work on the inside too. And I really I strongly suggest to anybody who has access to it and who can afford it to go see a therapist, because it does help. And it is important to find a therapist that you feel comfortable with. I was lucky enough to actually find him on the first try. which is unusual, I've heard. But, you know, like I said, if you can afford it and you have access to it, it helps. It helps a lot, and it's taken a year for me to realize just how much it has helped. So, anyways, I didn't make a video about changes this week because there weren't any. I notice more and more facial hair every day, but like I think I mentioned before, they just kind of appear in weird patches. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I have my hematologist appointment tomorrow, so hopefully that'll go well. I'm trying to convince myself that if there had been a problem with my blood, I would have found out by now, because the doctor was nice enough that I think he would have contacted me if there was something wrong. So I don't know. That's just something I'm trying to convince myself. So I hope you guys have a fantastic week, and I'll talk to you when I have more news.